Thought I would take a minute and share my technique for grain filling. I'm working on my CBT arrays. I've got 10 5¼ inch SB acoustic woofers in them and 20 3/4 inch peerless tweeters in each cabinet. The front baffle is covered in Carillion birch, and the remainder of the enclosure is covered in Sapele. Hope I'm saying that right. I've applied boiled linseed oil already to the Sapele. That sat for about a week, and then I've applied a coat of Zinsser Seal Coat over that. Once that was dried, then I lightly sanded these with 220 grit. Today we're working on the Sapele, by the way. The Carillion's already done. Supplies involved. I'm using the Crystalac grain filler. There's not a whole lot of instructions online about this. There's not a whole lot of instructions on the can. Essentially it says wipe on, trowel off, and sand in between coats. I made a little applicator, something similar to what you would see if you were shellacking. Seems to put it on pretty easy. Spread it around. And then some of the other things you would need for my technique. I'm using a 4-inch paint scraper I picked up at Home Depot. Some extra 4-inch blades for that. And then just a standard utility knife razor blade. So let me lay this over and we'll get started. This Crystalac will tend to dry out pretty fast if you leave this lid open. So once you're done applying it, I get the lid back on it as soon as possible. I put it on basically in a wax on, wax off method. Kind of waxing it across the grain. You want to push it down into the grain. Be sure after you've sanded the enclosure or whatever it is you're grain filling, that you blow all the dust out of that grain, get all that dust out of there before you start this method. Put it on pretty heavy. You don't want it to dry out too fast on you. And I work about a 1 foot section at a time. Immediately after getting that on, take the 4-inch blade by itself and just do a quick sweep with the grain. I'm wiping it off on a paper towel. I'm not trying to put it back in the container. I don't think you'd want to recycle it. There could be contamination in it. And I'll take the blade with the handle and put a little more pressure on it. Kind of go back and forth like you see them sharpening a razor in the old barber shops. And then finally I'll take the smaller blade, do the same thing, in case I had any high or low spots on the wood that the larger blade would have been bridging and not clearing some of this stuff off. After that, you'd move on to another section. Once you've got everything filled, give it a little bit of time to dry. You'll come back and lightly sand over that again with 220 grit, maybe a little bit finer, your choice. And then you'll be ready to move on to your next step, whatever finish you're going to apply. So that about covers it. Hope this helps.